back in about 94 or 95. I was in elementary school. It was, the first week of school or something. And one of my buddies came up to me. He said, "Hey, did you hear who the new kid's dad is?" And I said, "No." So he told me. And I said, "Yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. That guy's not even from Calgary. What the hell's he doing here? There's no way he lives here. Whatever." Needless to say, I kind of befriended this kid whose dad was this supposed wrestling legend. Over the next few weeks, we became good friends. Not to the extent that I had gone to his house or anything yet. But I said, "Listen, if that's really your dad, give me an autograph." So he said, "Yeah, for sure." So the next day, he brought me a piece of paper, autographed, except the name was slightly different than what I had known this wrestler as. So I said, no, this isn't it. No way. It's not your dad. So I just kind of called his bluff. I didn't really buy his story. Anyway, over the next few weeks, finally he said, "All right, yeah, you can come meet him." So I said, "Oh, I got to come meet this fictional character." "Okay, sure, why not?" So we go to his house after school because it turns out he lives just up the street from me. My buddy has me wait at the door. A minute or so later, I just remember the door opening and this giant man standing in front of me with a mean mug on his face. He went over the top with his theatrics intentionally just to try to scare the shit out of this kid, me. And sure enough, it was Bad News Allen, a.k.a. Bad News Brown. And I still remember he said, "Get over here, kid, I'll whoop your ass." I was intimidated as hell. And I just remember kind of, sorry, sir, and, scurried off. But I remember how he just had this giant smile on his face, like, still got it.
Were we all guessing who it was? I had some guesses when the story was being told. And Bad News Brown was one of them. How cool is that? That's another one of us smart wrestling fans as a child's dream. I remember one of my best friend's neighbors growing up was Keith Moreland, a third baseman for the Chicago Cubs. And I thought that was cool. And I liked the Cubs a lot. But I was obsessed with professional wrestling. So it's one thing to have a Major League Baseball player as your neighbor, but it's another thing to have a superstar of the WWF 80s era. Unbelievable. Bad News Brown, your neighbor. And those kind of stories from kids happen all the time. Another one for me at camp when I was a kid was a guy who said his father was Greg Gagne, not to be confused with Greg Gagne, who was a shortstop, I think, for the Minnesota Twins of the same name. And I remember thinking both were cool. But this guy was just lying to me. He knew I was a Twins fan and a wrestling fan, just lying to me. And you got to assume that Bad News Brown or Bad News Allen's child is just lying to you. That's just what kids do. I'm sure a lot of us listening right now were told that our dad knows Hulk Hogan or our dad knows Stone Cold Steve Austin or our dad knows John Cena or whatever it may be. But that's just playground lore. But this is the real thing. Bad News Brown living a couple of blocks. They never lived blocks next to you, but they did today. And I love that he kept up the shtick. Of course he did. Caller, I'm very jealous of you, even to this day. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. And while you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.